All right, everybody, welcome to an emergency edition of Tunnel Vision. I'm your host, Ryan Abraham. On the other side of the camera, we're trying to do this like a last minute sort of thing. I did one, was it 2 weeks or last week against UCLA, and it was just in my living room. So this is a little more, we got a little more production going in this one. It's only on Facebook Live, so I'm your host, Ryan Abraham. Follow me on Twitter at Inside Troy. And over there on the other side of the room for the first time, we got Keely.
Hello.
Follow her on Twitter at Keely is my name. What's up, Keely?
What's up? It's a little foreign being on this side of the camera.
Is it different? Yeah.
It's different. I like being in control and having being the producer, but it's cool being on this side.
Yeah, we'll see if I can control this right. I'm going to turn up the volume a little bit. If you have any questions or comments, put them on Facebook. I should be able to play with them and stuff and move them over and show them on the screen. But Keely, so
yes.
We were at the Coliseum until pretty late last night, I guess this morning.
Yes, it was a late night for sure.
Yeah, all the game information that we were putting up and the interviews and stuff, and it was all kind of second. It didn't really matter as much, right? Because everyone just wanted to know what was going to happen with Clay Helton.
Yeah, it was all second. The bigger picture was, okay, well, what does this mean for Clay Helton? Who's going to lead the team going forward? I mean, Lynn Swann did give some vague answers. He said he had a plan going forward, and that we would know soon.
Yeah.
We should have known by the way Clay Helton was talking the past 4 games and Lynn Swann's vague comments that he was reassured at some point, it seems like. But, I mean, just from a sourcing standpoint, we had heard everything. We had coexisting separate narratives that were polar opposites at the same time, down to, like, before they announced that he was returning. So, I mean, how can you have those two narratives exist at the same time? I don't know, but Clay Helton's the guy next year, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's very strange. Obviously not a positive reaction on Twitter and on our message boards and everything. So the USC tweeted it out first, and they sent an email to everybody, season ticket holders and stuff. And man, my phone was just blowing up when that was going on. It became official. The sports information department sent out, the statements. It was the same 2 statements. We got one from Lynn Swann and one from Clay Helton. And yeah, it was kind of the same sentiment that we've seen before. Most of what, we've been reporting has been, the same all along, where it's on the administration side, everyone you talk to, like sort of around Heritage Hall, most everybody was Clay Helton's going to come back. Lynn Swann wants him to come back. But there was this other side, the boosters, the support people, and I can't tell. I mean, I was getting messages this morning from people who are like big donors, suites, boxes in the Coliseum that are like, I'm done. I mean, there's people that are pissed. Like, they are not happy. So on that side, a lot of those people we talked to felt like there was going to be enough pressure on Lynn Swann to make him change his mind. Obviously, I mean, we've been reporting this too. He doesn't really like to be told what to do, Lynn Swann. And he didn't change his mind. So he's going along with it. The fan blowback is enormous. Guys like Bill Plaschke, who I was on the pregame radio show with Keely right before the game. Yeah. They were asking him what he thinks. He's not a guy that comes out and advocates, firing of any kind of coaches or anything. Yeah. He's been around a long time. But he sent out something like, man, this message from Lynn Swann is tone deaf. And it's crazy the amount of, now there's some supporters, but for the most part, it's just all negative, all directed at USC and the administration, and unfortunately Clay Helton, it's not his fault. I mean, he's trying to do his job, but
if you're going to be given a job, you would still keep it. It's not his fault to retain it. But I mean, what did you make of the statement? He said, I want to make it clear Clay's returning. I mean, it seems like Lynn doesn't really care if he gets blowback from his statements.
No, I don't think he cares at all. And that's part of the problem. That's part of the reason why that group of people on the message board were saying, hey, we're not being heard. That's why they flew the airplane banner over the Coliseum and stuff. And that's why they want to take out an ad in the LA Times, because they don't feel like they're being heard. And when we heard him on the radio a few weeks ago, it was definitely more of a declaration, like, I am your leader. I will tell you what you should be thinking. And just Clay Helton is the head coach. Just, take that home. And we were told he was going to say he's coming back then. He could have ended all this then, but he didn't. He fell short of that. But obviously that's what he still felt. And then But between then and now, I mean, Clay Helton's lost 5 of his last 6 games.
Yeah.
And they lost to Cal, lost to UCLA, and which looks really bad now. And then, of course, lose to Notre Dame. So you kind of felt like, okay, the boosters were going to be able to push Lynn Swann over the top and come to his senses and make this necessary change. And obviously that didn't work.
I mean, what do you expect going forward? Because it was already a very low attendance record for the season. Going forward, based on from what we've heard on our message boards, on Twitter, people are done. I mean, is this just all big hype on social media and people will actually show up? Or people really feel like they're not heard and they don't feel like this team can go anywhere if Clay Helton is the head coach?
No, I think it's real. And I think that's the problem is because you're doing this, like when they reference Notre Dame doing this.
Which
Brian Kelly had, he went to a national championship game before. It's not like they didn't have success. And he was at Cincinnati. He's done other things. But they also had these renovations and stuff going on. They knew they needed to do something big. I don't think this is big enough because even if he changes the whole staff, that's not going to appease a lot of these fans that you were talking about. And they are mad. You're talking about people that are giving lots and lots of money for this huge renovation project. And, and I've talked to some more of the Sunshine Pumper side. People are like, oh, there's going to be more boosters and stuff. But from what I'm hearing, like he's really upset some of the big mega boosters that are supporting this program. So I think it's going to be, a problem going forward. But I don't know. It just didn't seem like he cared about that and, is banking on that Clay can turn things around. It's not going to be an easy schedule next year. They got Washington and Oregon. They don't play Oregon State anymore. There's no automatic win. So I don't know, Keely. It's not been positively received. I don't think it's fake. I think there's a lot of people that are walking away. We're going to get for our website, uscfootball.com, we have subscriptions. It's like a $10 a month thing and people get the information. They're like, you know what? I love you guys. A lot of people are staying. But there's some people who are like, I can't just do this anymore. I know you're not part of USC, but I need to walk away from this. And if they're doing that, they're canceling a $10 a month thing.
Yeah.
It seems real to them.
Yeah, I immediately got flooded with texts that's like, I'm canceling my season tickets. Like, I'm done. And it was just like, whoa, this blowback was huge. And the question is is the administration expecting this? 1, 2, do they care? What is the real goal of this program? Is it really to be a national championship contender? Or is it just, are we good with running a clean program? I'm not saying you shouldn't run a clean program, but running a clean program and getting 8 or 9 wins a season. I feel like that would be good in their minds.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem, the disconnect between the fans who are saying, obviously, Lynn Swann played at USC, he won the Super Bowl. The most important thing to him and the administration is the USC get back to prominence. And I don't think that's the way they're thinking. A lot of it is, self-preservation. A lot of it is political. It's not, if you were putting, hey, we want to get this team back to a national championship level, that was not the move you would have made. This is, Pete Carroll in his 3rd year, people want to compare. Yeah, Clay Helton won a whole bunch of games his first 2 years. The 3rd year for John McKay, for Pete Carroll, I think even John Robinson, I got to check. They won national championships. They were going up.
Yeah.
Clay Helton is going down. And that's not, you look at this team, they make the same mistakes over and over and over again. They didn't make changes they needed to make. He's not put a great staff together. And that's 3 years in. You're going to force the action. It wasn't like Brian Kelly didn't try to put together a good staff.
Yeah.
Those guys didn't work out. So to me, it's not going in the right direction. If your priority, which the fans are, that the fans say, hey, I want to win a national championship. No, they want to do it the right way. They want to be clean, but that's still the highest priority. You want to do that. That's not the statement Lynn Swann made today. There's no way you could convince me or any of the USC fans we've talked to that was the number one priority. It's more about he gave him an extension in February and doesn't want to make any kind of changes right now. I think that's more what it is.
True. And the issue I have with the whole Notre Dame went 4-8, look what happened narrative is that, one, I've seen this in my timeline, is people are like, why are you comparing us to Notre Dame? Why do we have to do what Notre Dame does?
Yeah.
That whole rivalry thing. But also, Brian Kelly had a track record of winning prior to that. He was a head coach for multiple years prior to that season where he turned things around. And then 2, that's banking on the fact that Clay Helton will turn around and make hard decisions. We'll have the Rolodex to get coaches in that will turn this program around. I mean, Clay Helton didn't even flat out deny that he might want to be the offensive coordinator next season. Like
Right.
he said that he has the itch to be play caller. So, I mean, Clay Helton hasn't proven that he can make those changes. And he might feel the fire and might turn around this season. I don't want to say definites here, but given what we've seen, that hasn't been the case.
No, we haven't seen him make those tough decisions. And you come in, you hire someone like Clay Helton, who was a reach for sure, right? I mean, he doesn't. I mean, I talked about this. His resume did not match the USC job. Like normally, you would just look at a resume and go, "Yeah, no, he does. This is not. There's not enough on this resume to get hired at USC." But he was. So you almost come in on the hot seat. Like you have to be like, okay, they're taking a chance on you, so you're not going to get a time to retool, go 3 years and then retool your whole staff and go again. That's exactly what Lynn Swann is doing. Like you hired him 3 years in, if you're not going in the right direction, like that should have been it, and that's part of the problem. You have Lynn Swann as well. He didn't have the resume to be USC's athletic director either. His qualifications do not match what you would need to be an athletic director. So there's this huge mess. And then of course, we talked about it a million times that not having a permanent president, the board of trustees dealing with all these other things. If the board of trustees wasn't dealing with $200+ million lawsuits and all that kind of stuff, would they put more attention on, making this happen? Possibly. But, I always said there's like a power vacuum with Max Nikias gone, and then this power struggle going on. But it seems like Lynn Swann's getting the last word, and he's, getting what he wanted. It's not what the fans want. I think there's a level of tone deafness there where it's just, I don't think he cares that the fans, there's that outrage. I mean, before the game, this was crazy. Usually they warm up. Clay Helton walks up the tunnel with his team, and I think it's Jordan Moore, right, that usually does an on-camera interview?
No, it's a younger guy who does it for the pregame, and then Jordan Moore does it at halftime.
Okay, so pregame, he will do
like a 2 or 3 question
interview with Clay Helton that goes up on the vision board, on the big video board. And they skipped that this time. And someone tweeted me, well, because if they put it up there, everyone would just boo him. And I'm like, that's probably true, because when they put him up for like the public service announcement, they booed him, right?
Well, when he came on the screen, there were players first that were like, thanks, Trojans, for following us this season. And then Clay was like, thanks for the season and being fans, whatever. And like it was just loud boos. Now, granted, I felt like a majority of that was from the student section, and they'll boo whatever. So I don't know how much stock you put into that, but there was loud boos for a USC crowd.
All right, I got a comment I have to address from Ron Green.
Do it.
Your resume doesn't match what you do either. Come on, Abraham. And bashing Swann is terrible on your part. My resume, okay, everything you see here was created by hand by me. So there wasn't a job I was hired for. This is a entrepreneurial business that I've been running for 22 years. So I don't know what you want to say about my resume, but this is all hand created. I wasn't hired by some big company I wasn't qualified for. If ESPN was going to hire me 22 years ago, I wouldn't have had the resume to go and work for ESPN. But I built this up all by myself, and that's where, obviously I had a huge team along the way, but this came from me. So this is a completely different situation. But thank you, Ron, for your comments there.
Let's actually address this, because I tweeted out that I don't think they're expecting the blowback that will happen from this decision.
Right.
I didn't say whether it's right or wrong. I just think that fans and boosters are going to be angry, which I think is valid. But I got some blowback from that. People were like, this is stability. You're so negative, blah, blah, blah. Like, what do you think about maybe it wasn't the right decision to fire Clay Helton 3 years in? Maybe having more stability long-term is better. I mean, some people said it's not about winning. It's about just having a stable program. I mean, what do you say to those opinions?
I mean, do you want to be stably bad? Like, that's where, I mean, okay. So Keely talked about the attendance. So I think Joey Kaufman is the first one that tweeted this out. So USC didn't get 60,000 people in the Coliseum for a USC Notre Dame game. It's the lowest attended USC Notre Dame game in the Coliseum since 1960. It's the first time since 1987 that less than 60,000 people attended every single game. And I think it's the average attendance below 60,000 the first time since 1987. This hits historically bad. And the problem is stability, yes. If you had hired Tom Herman, you hired Chip Kelly, someone that you've got this resume that you feel there's a reason to believe in him, that's fine. Like you want to stick through that and go through it. Yeah, that's fine. You stay the course because you believe in what they're doing. Clay Helton doesn't have that cachet behind him. He was hired because he was there. I mean, he was a assistant coach to two bad head coaches in Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian that should have been hired to begin with, and you promoted him. I just think you have a much shorter leash at that point. He's the nicest guy in the world. All of us wanted to see him succeed. This team is way, way, way too freaking talented to lose 7 games in the worst division in Power 5. There is no way this team should be 5-7. That is not on players. That is on coaching. And that is why they needed to make a change.
I mean, look at yesterday. That was a first half from USC. That was promising. They played up to Notre Dame's potential. They played well. Arguably their most impressive first half of the season, I would say. And I think that's a bigger indictment on the season as a whole. If you're able to play up to that level at week 12, why can't you do that against a Cal, an ASU, a UCLA? Why does USC have this problem of matching their opponent in the level of determination in the game?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, completely.
I mean,
I think I tweeted out, in the first half, like, this team that I'm watching would not have lost 6 games. Like,
no.
We didn't see that team all year. That you could argue that was the best game or most complete game or best effort they put in all season. They waited till game 12.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing that's interesting to me is there are bigger problems going forward. I talked to Cam Smith after the game in his second scrum of the night, and he essentially said that there is a buy-in problem. There is a problem about players being committed to USC football. He said that it basically, I heard from someone else that Cam Smith got tired of being the babysitter on the team. There was a problem of players. He said in LA, it's easy to get distracted, and that's what happened this season. And so if you're having your senior defensive captain questioning the commitment level from players, that's a problem. That is a problem. He said, because someone asked him, well, what needs to happen going forward to get on the right track for this team? He says it starts Monday. He was like, there's no breaks. It starts Monday. There needs to be a sense of urgency on Monday, which is just crazy. Like, that is deep problems. And he said that there's more issues that plagued the team, but he didn't really want to get into it. He was like, I just want to reflect on my season and whatever. He didn't want to really trash the whole team, but there are problems there. And Cam Smith acknowledged that there's problems. And how do you change that culture? How do you change that culture where you're not fluctuating based on how good your opponent is? You know, those are deep problems that I don't even know how do you fix that? Yeah,
it's an issue. And I don't think you should be talking about, hey, we're going to go back to work on Monday. After week 12 or week 13 of the season, game 12, your season's over. Like, you're done. The first time since 2000. Who's the last guy to go 5-7 at USC? Paul Hackett. And Paul Hackett beat UCLA that year and still got fired. So this is we're in uncharted territory for sure. And I'm trying. It's hard to look at all the comments and stuff.
I know, I'm trying to read them right now.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But there's definitely some supporters too. There's people that are saying, hey, give him another chance or get rid of the staff and stuff. So there's definitely, it's not like it's all people that are saying, Clay's terrible and all that stuff. But there's definitely some supporters on that side too. So we'll see. And if you watch I watched College Game Day. Kirk Herbstreit was very supportive of that, and he was calling the game, and you kind of got the feeling that there was some back channel talking going on there for him to say something like that, hey, I know he's going to come back, and you're sort of supporting it. Looking back, that probably was going on. We saw our buddy Yogi Roth tweet out, support and stuff. So it's this is something that Lynn Swann wanted. I think he made some calls to try to get some support around him. Just to his statement too was there's a lot of people that, or something. What was it? There was a lot of people that support, Clay Helton and some that don't. It made it sound like it was about even or even, and it was nowhere near even. It's not even the same, stratosphere as far as how many people support him versus how many people don't. It's like 95% or something that don't.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I don't like being negative. I don't like being
Yeah.
and saying that there's problems inherently with this coaching staff and what is going on. But it's also the fact of the matter. I mean, Cam Smith said this himself. Like, you don't go 5-7 without problems. Like there are problems there. And the problem with this is that I feel like this coaching staff as is, and we don't know if it will be contained as they are going forward. It doesn't sound like it. But I feel like there is a reluctance to be realistic with the issues at hand. I mean, I feel like if you're going to reassess the coaching staff, that should have happened last season.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you're here now. It's because you didn't make those tough decisions. So will they be realistic going forward? Will they say, hey, maybe we can't run the ball. Let's go to a more air raid type. But they did that in week 12.
Right.
I think there needs to be a real, I mean, Helton says tell the truth Monday. There needs to be a tell the truth December. Like really look at what needs fixing. Because the fact of the matter is, Clay Helton is the head coach. Now you got to root, if you're a USC fan, you got to root for him to really look and make the tough decisions and look hard at what didn't go right. But will that actually happen? I don't know.
Right. And I think there's a great point being realistic, because these were changes that you could have seen we talked about that needed to be made beforehand. You didn't have to have a throwaway 5-7 season to go, you know what? We need to make some changes. Half of the staff are part-time recruiters. If you're going to be a brand new head coach, should you hire a rookie offensive coordinator? No, you should bring in an experienced offensive coordinator. All these things are logical, were fixable. I mean, even 3 years ago when he started this, when coming into this season and everyone's like, it's a young team. It's not a young team. There's plenty of veterans on this team. They have a young quarterback. What do you think? It's not.
Oh, no, I just think it's really interesting just talking to recruits. That seems to be the company line. It's like, oh, it's a young team. Like, this is a young team. They're making young mistakes.
Like the whole secondary seniors, Porter, Cam. I mean, there's
granted they got injured, but I feel like if you're looking, you're not taking a deep look
the whole offensive line
at this team. I know.
Like,
you have a redshirt
Ware,
senior center,
Yeah.
This is not a young team.
Yeah.
But that has been the angle that Clay Helton and company, I think, have been selling to recruits and whatnot, because talking to recruits, they seem like, oh, no, it's okay. Like, they'll get on track.
No.
It's just a down year. Like, and this is a down year.
Right. But Tyler Petit, Tyler Vaughns and Michael Pittman could go pro. Like, that doesn't mean they're young if they can leave. That means they've been there for 3 years. So yes, I don't buy the narrative this is a young team, but knowing you would have a young quarterback, no matter who won the job, JT Daniels, Matt Fink, or Jack Sears, maybe don't, promote a support staff member to be your quarterback coach. Maybe go out and hire an experienced coach. All of these are very fixable, and they were preventable problems for USC. And that's why do you have a lot of confidence that, well, okay, now that we've hit rock bottom, let's go back and do it the right way. There was a right way to do it. And we talked about it. Like, it was very simple. Like, why? We talked a million times about what Cal does and Justin Wilcox. He hired head coaches to be his coordinators, and Clay Helton shied away from that. And then after year 2, when you see the problems, but you still were like, well, still won the Pac-12 championship. Yeah, I got blown out by Notre Dame. Yeah, I got blown out by Ohio State. So when we were critical of that, people were like, well, why are you being so negative? They won the Pac-12. Well, this is why, because now Sam Darnold's gone, and here's what you get. So these were all fixable problems, which is the problem I have with it.
Yeah, without a doubt. And that's the thing about being negative is, like, these are things that they can fix. Like, these are things that they don't have control over. Like, this is a talented team. This is a team that, if better decisions were made in some games, they could have a winning record. They could go. We could be talking about a bowl game right now.
They still have the best roster in the Pac-12.
Yeah,
that's why you lose 7 games. No, like, that's on you as a coach. You have better players than the other people, the teams that you're playing. You could argue Notre Dame maybe. I mean, but you saw what they were toe-to-toe. It was pretty close. Like, USC should have been up by more than that in the first half. You saw what the potential is for the players. That's why I was tweeting, like, people tell me, oh, the players just aren't that good, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's bull crap. Like, look, and then you see, I'm like, yeah, they pushed Notre Dame around and made them look silly for a while. But then coaching kind of stepped in. Daniel, I put this up a while ago.
Should we answer some questions?
Yeah, I was trying to. I put
sorry,
it up
my
on the
bad.
screen. Yeah. So what big name assistants would want to be hired at USC? So that's kind of the thing, right? Where would anyone want to come to USC? And I get that now. Like, I think you could do individual assistants. Like, if you did this, certainly last year it wouldn't be a problem. Now, though, with all the outrage, everyone knows that Clay Helton is on the hot seat, like, exponentially. Like, people feel like he's what do you feel?
Do you though? It's a real question because Swann seems all in on Clay. Sure, the fan base isn't in.
But do you want to be a place where they're going to boo the head coach at every turn? And I get so.
You're the one who says it's USC.
No, I did. No, so here's the thing.
Okay.
So I get this. I think that doing a wholesale coaching change is going to be harder. One, because I don't think Clay Helton wants to go out and go get people like, get Cliff Kingsbury as your offensive coordinator. Yeah. That would be awesome. And he actually might want to do that because if you feel like you can come in and be a great offensive coordinator and they fire the head coach, maybe you get promoted. Like, there would be reasons that he might want to come. Yeah. I don't think we haven't seen Clay go out and do that. He would be a threatening hire. He would be someone that could take your job. We haven't seen Clay Helton do that at all. So it would be going way off script if he does something like that. So I think but something like that is possible. But Daniel, you're putting Clay Helton in a tougher spot, even if he has the authority, even if he has the will to go out and get, bigger assistant coaches. There could be some reluctance there because you feel like this is a lame duck presidency, and Lynn Swann, not president, but coaching staff. Yeah. But Lynn Swann maybe wanted to make a change, but he didn't want to make it right now. Like, that's what it seemed like. This isn't the right time when you get a president in place, and then after that, and when I can can make a coaching change when I want to in all my glory as Lynn Swann, then I feel like you want to do something like that. So I think it definitely. There's some challenges there by doing it. I don't know what you think, Keely.
You're really taking the shots at Lynn Swann right now.
And I grew up idolizing Lynn Swann, and it's not. He shouldn't have been hired. That's not his fault that he wasn't qualified to be. He's never hired or fired anyone. He hasn't managed people. Like, he doesn't have that on his resume. Maybe he's the greatest, athletic director in the world, but his resume doesn't have anything that besides he played football at USC that would show, hey, he should be the athletic director. But the decisions he's been making and the way he won't speak to us, he won't answer questions, he just makes decrees and wants people to say, here's what I've declared. And that, it's like he's not willing to go under fire and answer questions about this. So I have an issue with that.
Yeah, if the last 3 years have proved anything, is that experience does matter. We always say stars matter, but also experience matters when it comes to coaching and making big decisions. But as far as assistant coaches coming to USC, what is your feel on, could Clay have enough money? Say Clay wants to get the best. Will the administration even allow that? Will they open up the purse strings and let him do that?
That's a really good question. It's hard to say. We've heard kind of mixed messages on that, but the way, if you are, here, I like this one, Ryan for athletic director. I'm in, Ketty. I'm in that. The way that Lynn Swann was backing Clay Helton, it would be pretty disingenuous for it to say, okay, but I'm not going to give you any money to do things. We put problems like this in the war room. USC's support staff for recruiting is bare bones. They got 4 people there, and guys like Gavin Morris and Eric Ziskin, and I don't know Trey Johnson, but he's new. I've heard some good things about him, and I know they have like a graphic designer person. They're doing a lot of work, especially with a coaching staff that's got a bunch of part-time recruiters on it. That shouldn't be the case either. Like, you got to get rid of those people. Like, Pete Carroll would never have anyone on his staff that wasn't a relentless recruiter. If you have one or something, that's fine. But really, like, half the staff doesn't really care about recruiting. So you rely on this support staff. And they had Alex Rios, who left after the first game, after UNLV. And they still haven't replaced him. The entire season went by, and he hasn't been replaced. So I don't know where that falls. Is that coming from the administration? Is that coming from the coaching staff? I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, they also lost Alex Collins, who was another recruiting guy.
No, they replaced Alex Collins with Trey Johnson.
Okay.
So they did. So they backfilled that. But even having 5, they don't have 5 anymore. When they had 5, that wasn't enough. You would go, there would be other, Power 5 schools that would have double digits, the same sort of thing, not including some of the people that would support that. So they're asked to do a lot. And the problem is at USC, there are a lot of built-in advantages. There just are.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of be bare bones and still
And
have
get
it
away
work.
with it.
But here's the problem. This year, they didn't win the Rose Bowl. They didn't win the Pac-12. They're 5-7 and done. Recruiting is going to suffer this time around. I think it might actually help that Clay Helton comes back. So 'cause
Yeah.
if you're changing and, you got 3 weeks or whatever until the early signing period, like that makes it tougher. But I think it's going to hurt them because they didn't finish strong on the field. It's going to not make it as easy to finish strong recruiting.
Yeah, in both areas of USC season and USC recruiting, this is what happens when talent doesn't do all the work.
Right.
When you rely on talent, it'll only get you so far.
Yes.
And this is the result when it doesn't go your way. You could argue that it did go their way in past seasons, but this season is when it all kind of didn't go their way.
Right. You kind of relying on all those advantages. Like you get 5-star dudes every year at USC because you're USC, and you got to recruit them and stuff too. But you can rely on that talent to get you by sometimes, and it didn't work this year. So that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
Adam said, "Does Clay wait until after the early signing period, which is December 19th, by the way, is when it starts?
Yeah.
Or when does Clay start to look for an offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, et cetera?" I think that's a really interesting question because if you make you almost have to do it soon or after. And if you do it after the signing period, when everyone signs, then there could be some issues because if someone signs and they like that assistant coach and he's no longer there, for the big ones, you might need to make a move. Like I think earlier than later. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't even know. I mean, where does T. Martin fit in all this? How does he feel? Is he willing to go back to just being a wide receivers coach? We've heard that he's sounds all right with that, but we don't actually know. I mean, T. Martin is a big powerhouse for recruiting. So if you get him to stay on board, that's a huge win for USC. The interesting thing is, like on Friday, I went to see Jordan Wilmore, 3-star running back commit for USC. And I was like, right now, Tim Drevno is the running backs coach and offensive line coach. He very well could be the offensive line coach next season. Like, how do you feel about, you don't even know who your coach could be and you're still committing? And he said he's all in for USC. He was like, running backs, you don't really need a coach. It's fine. Like I'll be fine with that. So it's just interesting that if you're committing, do you know if you're going to have your position coach?
Yeah.
Does it matter? Is that the guy you really talk to the most? I don't know.
I think a lot of the people that USC has committed that we've talked to seem fine. Like if the coaching staff changes, I don't think it matters that much. But they're not ranked really. It's not like they have this amazing class in right now. They need to build on that to go forward. So that's where you have to get other people to commit. Maybe a Chris Steele from St. John Bosco to come back and and that's probably going to depend. You want to get him? I think it's going to depend on if you get a new coach. If you say, okay, we're keeping Ronnie Bradford's a defensive back coach, you're either going to declare we're keeping him or we're replacing him or whatever. So Chris Steele knows what's going on. I think there's a lot of that that's going to go on, but we don't know. I think, for Clay Helton, I'm not sure what he's going to want to do. He seems to be more deliberate. He seems to be more not really like, I'm going to go and maybe this was a declaration from Lynn Swann, like you got to do it all differently. Get rid of everybody. I mean, if that's the case, then we'll see if he makes some huge changes. My gut feeling, though, is that's not going to happen. I don't know. What do you think, Keely?
It's not what we've really seen from him. And how much do people like making decisions, making changes when you're not the one who's motivated to do it? How good do you feel if you have someone overhead telling you, hey, you have to get rid of the staff you're comfortable with? I mean, I don't know. As I said before, Clay Helton, besides Neil Callaway, which came pretty late, he hasn't really shown that he's willing to make tough decisions, make realistic changes. So I don't know. I mean, you can be hopeful, but I kind of tend to go on people's track record. And so far, his track record says that he's not really going to make a huge splash in the water change,
Here's what. So you give T. Martin, this is from Donald, you give T. Martin the title of Director of Recruitment and Wide Receiver Coach. He's probably their most important recruiter, Donald. I don't think Clay Helton's going to get rid of him. I don't think T. Martin minds not being the offensive coordinator. I think he's cool with his role. So my gut is T does stick around. I don't think they're going to get rid of him and, whatever. I mean, I think they do change an offensive coordinator, but I think T will at least stick around for a while. So that'll be kind of interesting. Oh, there was one. Let me find this real quick. Crap, where was it?
Just while you're doing that, someone said, took issue with what Lynn Swann said about a clean program, given how many departures USC actually had this season. Do you agree with that whole sentiment?
Yeah, there's about 25 or so departures from, Clay. That's like a whole recruiting class. But I don't think those are all, that's not all Clay's fault. But there was some, I think there was a fault of, on the coaching staff. I mean, there's, like a guy like a Kerry Angeline just didn't seem like anyone was talking to him, and he ended up transferring out. I mean, I think, a Keely Ross, like there wasn't any disciplinary thing. It was just like he wasn't happy with his role. So I think there's certain things that USC's coaches could have addressed. You kept some of those players, but sometimes, if a player screws up, I'm not going to say the coach has got to watch him 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Brian Freeman said, "Time for a female college coach. Let's go, Keely."
No,
you don't want to.
I'm not. The worst thing I could do is try and say that I could do what these coaches do. I don't. I could not do that. As much as we criticize them, they do know what they're doing at times.
Here's Ryan, and so here's the problem we're going to be dealing with now. Who's going to be the offensive coordinator? Who's going to be the defensive coordinator? Cliff Kingsbury as OC from Ryan Al, and Mike McIntyre as defensive coordinator. Thoughts? Yeah, no, I mean, if Clay Helton did something like that, I would probably stop the criticism like instantly. I'd be like, all right,
yeah,
we'll give you, I'm not even going to say anything. I won't say another word about the mistakes that have been made and just see what you do going forward. Because that would be a move. That would be something that's like, hey, that means you're taking it seriously and you're not promoting Brian Ellis to be the next offensive coordinator. You're not bringing back your brother, Tyson Helton, who's probably going to get fired at Tennessee, to come back and be the offensive coordinator. So if you do that, then I don't think anything's going to change. Then to me, it's exactly the same. If you do this, what Ryan is saying, like right here, where's the thing? Right there, do that, then yes, they'd be like, all right, he put his big boy pants on and he's coming to play. So that would be interesting.
I mean, I would same thing. I would support that. But the thing is, does he have the authority to do that? I don't even know.
Yeah.
Is there some unspoken rule that you can't go outside of USC ties?
Yeah.
We don't know.
Here's a bad idea from our buddy Mitchell. Willie McGinnis, the defensive coordinator. Okay, look. You don't need to just go find your favorite player and then have them coach a position or be a coordinator when they are not doing it now. That's how you got into this mess to begin with all of your athletic directors. Hire somebody who's good at their job. That's what the last comment we put up was, someone that's really good at calling an offense and really good at calling a defense. Not Willie McGinnis because he played at USC. Okay, Mitchell? So none of that. He's not a coach. Maybe he'll be a coach, but don't let him become USC's defensive coordinator as his first job out of television and analysis work. All right? So horrible idea. You got to go do 10 push-ups for me. Thanks, Mitchell.
Wow. Laying down the law, Ryan.
That's what I'm doing. Francisco, USC needs to do what Alabama does and hire ex-head coaches to the staff. Now, it's funny. Some people were critical of Dave Campo being out there because he's like kind of like clapping and stuff. But I like that he's the former.
I thought that was a good move.
Yeah, like Dallas Cowboys coach. I don't know how much involved he is, but hey, they have one of those guys around. So I think that's a step in the right direction. I thought Dylan McCullough was a great step in the right direction.
Yes.
But it was sort of like you put your toe in the water and it was a little chilly and you ran back and you just ran away. Like you didn't, you like, oh, this is going to work. We'll get Dylan McCullough. Instead of going like, yeah, let's repeat that 5 different times. They said, nope, let's back off of that. He left after 1 year. And
it makes you wonder, what would this season look like if he stayed around? I think it looks different. Do you still get Tim Drevno? Do you make a move with Neil Callaway and put in Tim Drevno at that point? I know these are all hypotheticals that don't matter, but it's interesting to think about.
It's eerily similar to what Lane Kiffin did when he wouldn't fire James Craig. He was defiant, just like we've seen Lynn Swann be defiant. He's not going to fire his guy, James Craig. So he brings in a second offensive line coach. That's essentially what Clay Helton did. So you wasted a position. You didn't really have a running backs coach. You had a guy that coached running backs 20 years ago, coaching running backs. So that doesn't, and Eure had a good year, but you did those guys a disservice by not having a Dylan McCullough type of guy come in. Like, what's the difference between coaching running backs between Dylan McCullough and Tim Drebner? Like, it couldn't have been greater, and so that didn't help your team at all. And I mean, that's part of the issue that I have.
Yeah, I would agree.
Let's see, what else have we got? So this comes up a lot from Janet. Wow. We had there were some song girls like talking some trash.
The song girls are a little chatty.
Wow, I never realized that. So I mean, I'm impressed that they're into it. They're into the football stuff.
Wow.
But Janet,
sexist? Why don't you?
No, I'm just saying. I mean, they're like cheerleaders right out there, right? Like sometimes you talk to them like, oh, they don't know what's going on. That's great that they know what's going on. Dude, like the guy cheerleaders too. Like the guy, whatever the Yale people are, like I don't think they know what's going on with football. They're out there to do their job. But if they're into the football team, that's pretty cool,
True.
Janet says, Clay too soft. Look at all the players that got hurt. Then there's
How do you connect those two, though?
Well, okay, so the thing that's been coming up is when you don't practice hard, then once the games come around, that's all you do. That's, so like you're an old dude like me. I used to play a lot of baseball growing up, like Shotgun did, but now I'm older. I would play softball, and you play once a week. And it's this weird thing, I'm 47 years old, and it's like, okay, in softball, you're like, sit around, do nothing, then go real fast. And it's like an injury waiting to happen,
That's why you see so many hamstring and quad injuries for baseball players, because they're coming out of the batter's box.
You go really fast. Yeah, you're like, nothing, go real fast. And I think that's what a lot of people are saying is they only practice hard on Saturdays. Oregon State was the best practice of the year, you could say. It was the full pads, tackling practice,
I still stick by mock game week, but
mock game week was good. Okay, yeah. But I think that's what Janet is talking about. So,
I mean, that's the thing is I even talked to Eure last night. I said after the Texas game, you criticized practice. What do you think happened for the rest of the season? And he said he said it got harder. I disagree, but you had your own players saying that practice wasn't hard enough. If you're having players saying that there's a commitment issue, there's a buy-in issue, practices aren't hard enough. I think even Tyler Vaughn said that they need someone to light a fire underneath them. You need more discipline. I think there needs to be some repercussions for things that go wrong. If you have a center that has issues, maybe take them out for a drive. I don't know. I think what you're seeing is players aren't scared of if we don't perform well, if we don't give 100% every down, every play. Does it matter?
Yeah,
I'm still there.
I talked to Toa Lovendon, kind of about some of that stuff, and he said there needed to be more player accountability. And you're sort of some people didn't feel that way, but it's almost I should have been benched or moved to, not forever, but set out for a drive or something. He had 3 penalties in that game.
And drive-killing penalties.
Yeah. So I think it's almost like the child that's yearning for some sort of discipline because maybe it's a divorced family and both parents are just spoiling them and stuff and treating them, and they don't get any discipline. And sometimes you're acting out because you need that sense of discipline. And when the players said, "Hey, no pads November, get rid of that," that's the child asking for more discipline.
Yeah, I thought that was a little odd too, how Helton sold it, at least, that it was the seniors who said no and they wanted a sense of urgency. I feel at that point, you should have the sense of urgency because that was coming off of the ASU loss, right?
Yeah.
So
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because we were wondering what they would do in November. So you just came off of a loss to ASU, and why isn't there a sense of urgency there? You could have ended the season with a winning record. It just there's so many questions as to why are you not pedal to the metal, go as hard as you can to the end of the season? Why are you kind of loafing it into it? It gives the appearance like you are.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We don't normally go live at this time, and
the sun is in your eyes.
Just coming right in there. Sorry about that. Victor said, "What's up with Shotgun? Missed you at Psychogate again." I guess he didn't make it over there. So we're gonna do our normal tunnel vision tonight at 7 p.m. So Shotgun will be here. I'll be on the other side. Keely will be sitting here. We'll do it on all three on Facebook. We've had a lot of people on Facebook. We had like 350 people or something.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, do the likes and stuff. We like that. Do some hearts. Those are cool. But we're going to do all that again at 7 p.m. And then Keely and I are going to talk with Harvey Hyde and do a podcast right after this as well. So should be really interesting as far as like more talk about this. But we do appreciate everyone sending this stuff in. Mark says, no talented assistant coaches will be attracted to this train wreck. Now that's where I don't buy it. Yes, there's going to be more challenges because it's going to be looked at as a potential just one-year job, but it's also USC, and you can you can be a guy like Clay Helton and end up being the head coach at USC because you come onto a staff. He worked for somewhat incompetent head coaches and end up being the interim coach twice, so I think there's some positives to that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, certainly, I don't think it's that no one wants to come to a staff like this, but there's definitely opportunities there because it's USC and you can be really good.
Agreed.
Brian says, oh, hey, Brian, I know him. USC has accepted the, quote, everyone gets a trophy mentality with a frowny face. That's more your generation, Keely. I don't know. We only got trophies when we won. When I was a kid.
Here's the question. Which generation gave us the trophies?
Us.
Yeah. So why are you blaming us?
I don't know. Yeah, it's just like, oh, everyone's worried about it. No, college football right now is cutthroat, and USC is not playing cutthroat. I mean, if somehow USC think about this. USC was in the Pac-12, which is fairly terrible.
Yes.
They beat the best team, Washington State. They didn't play Washington, but they beat them 2 years ago. Like USC could have theoretically beat all the teams because they're better than all the teams, and somehow made it to the college football playoff, and absolutely get exposed by a team like Alabama or Clemson. That's what the problem with this year is. This is not a good Pac-12. Like Utah lost their best running back, the most explosive playmaker on the team, and their best quarterback, and they won the South, with time to spare. So this was for the taking, the amount of talent USC has. So that's part of the problem. Is like it's just not. This isn't close to competing with Alabama, and then that's what USC fans are really freaking out about. 2020, USC plays Alabama again.
Which. This is ridiculous in my mind. Why are you setting yourself up for that? I mean, I saw this floated around on Twitter. Say it goes horribly wrong next season for Clay, and Lynn Swann feels like he has to make the decision to get rid of Clay Helton next season. You're having you're a new head coach. His first game is against Alabama in 2020. If that's the case, like you're not making it easy for anyone involved. It just seems like a series of poor decisions after poor decision. It's like a snowball.
Right. So if USC does poorly next year, and they have to get rid of Clay Helton after the year or during the year or whatever it is, then you're just like Clay Helton. His first game was going to be against Alabama if you have a new coach in 2020. So next year, looking at the schedule, they play on the road, out of conference. They got Notre Dame, obviously playoff team. Bless you.
Excuse me.
That's going to be tough. They play on the road at Provo, Utah for BYU. So that's playing at BYU. They gave Utah all they could handle in the Holy War, and Utah ended up winning at the end. They beat Arizona this year. I mean, that's a team that's certainly dangerous. And then they play Fresno State at home. Fresno State beat UCLA this year handily. Like, this is a good team winning 10 games a year. So that's not an easy out-of-conference slate. And you get rid of Oregon State and Washington State. Now, Washington State's good, but you get Oregon and Washington now, and Washington's going to be on the road, going to Seattle against Chris Peterson. That's not going to be easy.
Granted, that was Clay Helton's arguably his best game of his tenure so far at Washington.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, you could argue that was his best game. Cal's going to be better. Stanford, you expect to be better. They're going to lose some on offense, but I think they're going to revamp things. The Pac-12 North schedule will be tough, and then the South. Herm Edwards finished second in the South.
I know you were such a Herm hater, Ryan. Look at what
I
happened.
did pick, okay. I picked Utah to win the South. They did. I picked Washington to win the North. They did. So 2 years in a row, I got the picks exactly right. And my picks against the spread went pretty good. USC ended up covering, though, late with that late touchdown to Tyler Vaughn's. That covered that. USC covered the spread by throwing that touchdown with 48 seconds left or whatever it was.
So what was your record?
I was 4-3 this past week, but David was like 2-5, so I crushed him. But there was a bunch of games that were like, it was a 2-point game. Like Arizona State won by 1, and the spread was 2. So it was like, you were right there. And USC would have covered, except, they went for a 2-point conversion and didn't get it. So there was a bunch of weird stuff like that was going on. It was a crazy sort of week in the Pac-12.
Yeah, for sure.
That people care.
Steve. Sorry. Go ahead.
Jarrett, I put that up on the screen. Who has a great enough influence on Lynn Swann to change his mind? Boosters? No. They tried. They didn't change his mind. So
your answer is
yeah.
Was
if
the
they
answer
would have changed
today.
his mind, there's big. We talk about huge boosters. There's going to be a lot of stories coming out. Like I literally got an Instagram message from someone I've never heard of, who was like started following me on Instagram and then is like a good level booster. We talk about hundreds of thousands of dollars, and is like, I'm done. And I have friends that are doing the same thing in the millions of dollar range. And I've had other people say that too. This is just, hours after this is happening.
Which is, I go back to my tweet that I had. I don't think that Lynn Swann really expects, I think there is this level from Lynn Swann that expects, he said it after ASU, like, we're Trojan family. This is what you do. Families stick together in tough times. And there are fans that are like, no, why? Why should we? And I don't think he's expecting that pushback. I think he's expecting people to just go along with it, which what we're seeing is not the case.
Yeah. Glenn says, Helton can make it happen next year. Have some loyalty and faith. I'm not saying he can't do it. I mean, if he does make some big changes, I think he can certainly do it. USC has a lot of talent. I'm not sure, like, the fans that we've talked to, what are you being loyal to? Are you being loyal to an administration that's tone deaf to everyone's concerns? What are you putting your faith in? Clay Helton's one of the nicest guys around, but we're not seeing results there. I don't know what the basis for that is. Just blind faith, I guess. I mean, if you were just blind faith in whoever USC hires, it's going to work out. If that's what Glenn wants, I mean, I don't know, but I know a lot of the fans aren't buying that.
That's what I'm curious about is just like, well, what do you want from this USC football team? Like, if you want an 8-9 win team season, sure, you can be fine with what's going to happen, but do you want USC to be in the conversation with the college football playoff, to be respected as a national powerhouse again? If so, then our criticisms are valid. They're for that purpose of what USC should be as a football team, given the talent that they have.
Yeah.
But is that the general consensus that what everyone wants from USC as a program? I don't know. And
Tina says season ticket holders will have the power. If they start to cancel their tickets, he will have to make a move. I think that was already happening. I think you're going to see it next year. But he didn't have the foresight to go, okay, this is going to be horrible for the newly renovated Coliseum. There's going to be a lot of empty seats, and that's not what you want for something like that. So I think Tina, they needed some foresight for that to work, and Lynn Swann didn't really have it. So we'll see. Lance said, thoughts on the airplane banner. What did you think about that, Keely?
I have mixed opinions on it. I feel like if you are a fan and you feel like the administration is not listening to you, I think that was the move you could have made to try and, I mean, it did make a splash. Like, people talked about it. And so if you feel like you don't have a voice, they went to the extreme and were like, we're going to have a voice, you know?
And they did. They had a voice.
I know. People said it was a dumb way to spend money. I feel like if you have money, you can do whatever you want with it. I won't dictate how you spend your own money. But, I mean, banners, especially in hindsight, now that Clay Helton is returning as head coach, is a little embarrassing, I think, on a fan base, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how I feel. Like I said, mixed feelings.
Well, we were doing a podcast on Tuesday when you told me about this, when you said we were recording, and I was like, holy cow, like, someone on our website, on the message board, said, we're pissed. We're tired of this. I'm going to start a GoFundMe page. And they did it.
Yeah.
And by the time we talked about it, it was 3 hours in, and they raised $3,000. They were raising about $1,000 an hour. They got $15,000, enough to fly the plane. They had to organize all that, what the plane's going to say, an LA Times ad, which I don't know if it's going to happen or not still.
It sounds like it might still be
Yeah,
happening.
they're probably going to be more displeasure towards Lynn Swann in the ad and stuff. But it's when it's grassroots like that, it wasn't some kind of corporate. I mean, this was just fans that were upset, and so I respected that. You know, when it's people that came together, and it's hard to argue like, oh, you should have did this with your money, you should have did that. You can do anything like that. You know, if stand outside of Mastro's and tell everyone walking in there not to drop $300 on dinner and go donate it to the fire relief victims. Like you could do that every day. You know,
yeah,
like
the line can be blurred
what
anyway.
is the line? And a lot of those people were like, hey, I gave money to, you know, the different charities and stuff as well. And they're going to give the extra money from that to different charities. So, I mean, I thought it was real. I didn't, if it was like fabricated or something, I'd have more of an issue with it. But it was really real fans that were upset and are really upset now.
Yeah.
And it was something that was talked about. I did the pregame show. That was like the first question they asked me about. So people saw it. They got their voice heard, positive, negative, whatever you want to say. But they wanted a voice, and they got one.
Yeah. So apparently people are saying that the LA Times ad is supposed to come out on Wednesday. I heard Tuesday. But apparently multiple people said it's still happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think they need to change the copy because it was more about pleading for Lynn Swann to get rid of him. So now it'll be like reasons why or something like that. But
yeah,
I don't know. I'll have to look and see. We'll probably wrap this up in a minute. Joe said, what will the loss of major boosters financial impact due to this program in the near term? No, that's a good question. There's been I've been hearing mixed things about like the suites, basically the renovation. You had to raise $300 million to pay for the renovation of the Coliseum. And a lot of that was private people they sold suites and boxes and stuff. Well, there's a capital expenditure you have. So like one of the Loge boxes, I think, or whatever, are like $300,000, you know? And so some of that money's been paid already.
Yeah.
But people don't want to pay the rest. And there's an annual fee and all that stuff that goes into it. The suites are more, $7.5 million, $10 million. So maybe you've already paid $1.5 million, but hey, I'm not giving you any more money because, you know, so it depends on how many people. I've heard multiple people on that front have said, we're stopping doing that stuff. So I think that's a major impact because this is how you're paying for the Coliseum itself, you know, and
yeah.
Maybe it's delayed. I think USC will do whatever it can. Like they'll offer, you know, hey, we'll give you some more of this or more of that. I don't think it's like if you refuse to pay, they're cutting you off. They're going to try to entice you to come back and maybe, you know, buy some time. So after a year, if Clay Helton starts winning again, then maybe you'll come back. But no, I think, Joe, it can be a major impact because of the capital expenditures that are going on right now with the Coliseum. The people that are financing a lot of them, at least people we've talked to, seem to be really upset about this. And now they're questioning that pledge that maybe Lynn Swann was counting on, like, oh, they're not going to turn it down. And maybe that was just a lack of vision too, where he didn't see that these people were so mad that they're going to stop what they were doing, at least some of them, and then, you know, move on. Now, there's a lot of donors that don't care. Like, they're going to support USC no matter what. So it's not like this is not everybody. But I think there's the people that we talk to, it's a significant amount of people that are saying, like, hey, I'm done with it. It doesn't seem like the administration cares, so why should I?
Yeah, which is crazy. I mean, from a general perspective, it's like the worst time for USC to not be bowl eligible since 2000. You know, you have multiple problems USC is juggling right now. They're settling suits with the medical issue, the dean, you have an interim president. You know, you want you don't want to fire everywhere. And right now it seems like there's a fire everywhere for USC, you know, especially when you have the Coliseum renovation going on. It's not the best situation.
I have one more. Did you want to do, is there something you had? Or
you go for it and I'll see if there's anything we missed.
Okay. I want to get Keely's thoughts on this from Tim. Sorry, but Cam Smith was probably the most overrated player ever at SC. Whoa. Was always chasing guys in the secondary, getting lost on coverage, and most of his tackles were not for negative yards. I watched him all year. Won't be a good pro. Do you agree, Keely?
No, I do not. I don't really know what Cam Smith's measurables for the NFL, if that will work out or not. But if Cam Smith hadn't torn his ACL his freshman year, first of all, he came in as a freshman and killed it. If he hadn't torn his ACL his freshman year, he would have led USC in tackles all years that he was here.
Yeah.
Like, he was a pillar in the defense. Whether or not that transfers to the NFL, I don't know. But that's just incorrect. Cam Smith, if you want to see this defense without Cam Smith, you wouldn't want to have seen it.
No.
From a leadership standpoint and from just a playing standpoint, Cam Smith was the guy. So, no.
And then we're getting people saying, no, Biggie is.
Wow.
Biggie had a good year, too. It's like, come on, guys. Like,
I don't fully understand the Biggie hate.
there's a lot of Biggie hate.
I think, especially with Clancy's system, it's really easy to, if you just look service level and be like, it's the DB's fault. It's the cornerback's fault.
Yeah.
I mean, Clancy's defense puts the cornerbacks on islands.
Yeah.
So it's going to look like it's their fault when in reality, it's the blame can be spread.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I agree with you. You're hating on the fans, Keely. I don't know.
I'm not hating.
I'm just kidding.
Everyone has a problem. Here's the thing. I would much rather like USC to win and everyone be happy. Coaches can be happy, fans can be happy, administration can be happy, because it sucks. Like, I don't like when everything is awful and it seems like a dumpster fire on Twitter. You know, it's not fun.
It's not fun. I mean, but we're going to try to be objective about it.
Yeah.
And it sucks because we know a lot of the coaches and we like a lot of them and stuff. And it's like, you want to see them succeed, you know, but if they're not, you're not going to ignore it and say, if there's obvious things that are like, why aren't you doing this? Then it's not, we're not going to say it. You know, you have to say those things.
Yeah. And that's the hard part. Is that these are people we see. I mean, I've seen these coaches more than I've seen my own family, you know, like we see these people all the time and it's hard criticizing them, but we have to be objective. We want to tell you guys what we see and tell it straight. And so it's what we're doing, but it's hard at times.
Yeah. Now we're on the field and Johnny Nanson's walking off and I say, how's it going? Which was stupid. Like,
I told Ryan after, I was like, why?
felt so bad.
I was like, they just lost, Ryan. Why are you asking how's it going?
I'm sorry, Coach Nanson. That was not my intent. It was like, you know, it was weird. Like, I had an interesting exchange with Clancy Pendergast the other time where he's like, good job to me and stuff. It's just words that you just say like, hey, you know, I should have just said hey or something. But it's hard because you like a lot of these guys and you want them to do well.
Yeah.
But they haven't.
Yeah. I mean, as reporters, we're supposed to be objective and tell you what it is.
Yeah.
And sometimes that puts us at us with the coaching staff, which is.
Byron wants to know, how long do you think Lynn Swann stays with Helton if next year is a repeat? No, I don't think, I think it's a make or break year next year. But that's logic, but we haven't seen this athletic department be run by logic. So I don't know if that's the case, but no, I would guess like there's so much pressure now. You couldn't have another 5-7 season or a 6-6 season, or probably even a 7-5 season and survive. I would guess, but.
Do you think Lynn Swann would ever do a mid-season firing?
I think he's been so, into this. He's just been he doubled down on Clay Helton. So I don't think he could.
True.
It was weird when Pat Hayden did it with Lane Kiffin. Everyone felt he should have been fired the year before, and he didn't. And it was just stubborn about it. And then a guy flames out, So if it's a full-on flame out and they're like 1-5 or something, maybe. But I mean, oh man, could you imagine something like that?
No, I don't.
But they could lose to Fresno State. They could lose to BYU. I mean, right? So then, we don't know the Pac-12 schedule yet, so it depends.
Yeah. But I mean, Lynn Swann comes from the Steelers tree organization, and that's a program that likes stability, likes long-term coaches, that doesn't have this reactionary decision making. So it seems like he's come from that school of thought.
Right. And I think part of it might be this is because he would have to make a good, rational, quick decision if he got rid of Clay Helton. You don't have a lot of time to do this stuff. It's not the ideal time because there's no president, and this is your moment of glory. If you're an AD, this is what you were hired for. Hiring and firing football coach. Like, that's the biggest job, the biggest thing you could do. That's what everyone's going to remember.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to remember Pat Hayden was like the worst AD ever because he hired Sark and Clay Helton. Like, those were his two big hires, and it's like not so good,
Yeah.
It's So I think with, with Lynn, he wants to do it in an ideal way. And obviously right now it's not the ideal time. So my guess is if things are starting to go south, it'll be like, he won't fire Clay until he has a replacement. I just thought about that right now, but that might be, Lynn Swann's thing where he's going behind the scenes and trying to figure that out.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Did you have one more? Or we should probably wrap it up. Huh?
Probably wrap it up. We're getting some repeat questions. Make sure if you're just coming in, you scroll back because we covered a lot of the questions we're seeing now.
Yeah.
So
cool. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in.
we'll be back at 7 p.m.
Yeah,
so
we'll be back in 4
more
hours.
tunnel vision.
I'll reschedule this. So we'll do another Facebook Live, but also YouTube.
And we'll get
and
Shotgun here. I'm sure he has
Facebook.
some hot takes.
He'll have
We'll
some
be
hot
talking about the
takes.
Notre Dame game if you want to listen to that.
Apparently there was a game yesterday also.
There was a game.
Yeah.
Hey, I thought it could be bad. It wasn't as bad.
No. Cool. All right. Well, that's Keely Eure. I'm Ryan Abraham. Thank you so much for tuning into the emergency tunnel vision. And we'll see you in a few hours.
Yeah, we'll be back.